Smart communication begins long before you speak. It begins in your mind, in the way you think, interpret, and respond. Every conversation becomes sharper when your thinking becomes clearer. Every argument becomes easier when your mind becomes calmer. This book will teach you how to think critically, listen intelligently, and speak with precision. It will show you how to slow down your reactions and strengthen your reasoning. When your thinking becomes strong, your communication becomes powerful. Stay with this journey and make sure to subscribe, because mastering your mind is the first step to mastering your voice. Chapter 1. The mind behind the message. Communication begins in the mind. Before any word is spoken, before any gesture is made, your thoughts shape your message. Most people focus on what they want to say, but they don't stop to consider how they want to think about it. They rush through thoughts, driven by emotions, assumptions, and habits. But to speak smartly, to communicate with impact, you need to start with your mind. At the core of powerful communication is critical thinking. It's not about knowing more. It's about thinking clearly. It's about slowing down your responses, being aware of your thoughts, and questioning your beliefs before you speak. Critical thinking is the art of understanding how you arrive at your conclusions. It's the ability to see beyond what's obvious, to challenge your biases, and to process information without being overwhelmed by it. Without critical thinking, communication becomes reactive. You speak because you feel, not because you've thought it through. You argue because you're defensive, not because you've analyzed the situation. But when you think critically, you pause before you speak. You process before you react, and your message becomes clear, precise, and purposeful. Critical thinking allows you to evaluate information, filter out unnecessary noise, and decide what's truly important to share. It helps you organize your thoughts, so your words carry weight and meaning, not confusion. Too often, we speak without considering the implications of our words. We speak to respond, to defend, to prove a point. But when we think critically, we speak with intention. The smart communicator doesn't just know what to say, they know how to frame it. They understand that the way they present an idea is just as important as the idea itself. For example, consider how you respond to criticism. A reactive person may immediately defend themselves, arguing their case, explaining their actions, and justifying their decisions. A critical thinker, however, pauses and asks, what is the value in this feedback? They process the criticism, separate emotion from logic, and then respond with clarity and insight. This ability to think critically makes your message stronger. It gives you the power to present your thoughts without being controlled by emotion, and it allows you to listen deeply without jumping to conclusions. When you communicate with a clear mind, you make better decisions, you create more meaningful conversations, and you build deeper connections with others. Critical thinking also helps you understand others. Instead of assuming or reacting to their words, you take the time to listen, to process, and to empathize. You recognize that everyone communicates through their own filter, shaped by their experiences, values, and beliefs. And when you think critically, you step back and acknowledge that filter, which opens the door to real understanding. But to think critically, you must be willing to question yourself. It's easy to believe you're right. It's easy to assume your perspective is the only one. But the mark of a smart communicator is humility, the willingness to challenge your own assumptions, to look for areas where you can grow, and to seek out other perspectives. Critical thinking forces you to think about thinking. It helps you see where your biases shape your views, where your emotions cloud your judgment, and where you might be missing crucial information. It encourages you to be mindful of your internal dialogue and to use it to strengthen your communication, not weaken it. This process of reflection creates a more confident communicator. It removes doubt because you know the reasoning behind your words. It makes you more persuasive because you can present your thoughts with clarity. And it builds trust because people feel the sincerity in your words when they come from a well-thought-out place. Effective communication isn't just about speaking to be heard. It's about speaking to be understood. And understanding begins in the mind. When you stop to think before you speak, you gain control of your words. You understand the impact they'll have on the listener, and you take responsibility for how they'll be received. In the workplace, this is especially crucial. You may be communicating with clients, coworkers, or leaders, people who all have different perspectives, priorities, and goals. When you understand how your message fits into their world, you become more effective. You tailor your message to their needs. You avoid misunderstandings, and you create a clearer path for collaboration. Critical thinking also encourages open-mindedness. It doesn't just strengthen your communication, it makes you a better listener. You can listen for meaning instead of just waiting for your turn to speak. You can understand the message behind the words, and you can find common ground with others who may see the world differently. The key is awareness. The more aware you are of your thinking process, the better you'll communicate. To speak smartly, start with awareness of your thoughts. Identify your assumptions, examine your biases, and challenge yourself to approach each conversation with curiosity, not certainty. The best communicators are not the ones who speak the most. They're the ones who think before they speak. They are the ones who know the value of every word, and who understand the responsibility that comes with the power of communication. As you continue to master the art of communication, remember, communication isn't just what you say, it's how you think. And the way you think shapes the way you speak, the way you connect, and the way you lead. Chapter 2. Structuring your thoughts for impact. Great communication starts with great thinking. But thinking alone isn't enough. You need to structure your thoughts so they're clear, purposeful, and impactful. The way you organize your thoughts determines how your message lands. A jumble of ideas creates confusion. A structured message creates clarity. Imagine trying to give a speech without an outline. You'd jump from one idea to another, losing your audience, losing your point. Structure brings order. It's the skeleton that holds your message together. It's the roadmap that guides your listener from start to finish. The first step to structuring your thoughts is understanding your purpose. What do you want to achieve? What's the goal of your message? Without clarity of purpose, you'll wander. You'll speak because you feel like it, but not because you've planned what to say. A clear purpose directs your thoughts, shaping your words with intention. It tells your audience why they should listen, why they should care. Start with the core message. What is the main idea you want to communicate? If you can't boil it down to a sentence, you're not ready to speak. Then, break it down. What supporting points or examples will help strengthen your message? Don't just throw out facts. Organize them into a logical flow. The best communicators guide their audience through a journey. They don't jump from topic to topic. They connect ideas seamlessly. Each point builds on the last. Each idea supports the next. Clarity is created through structure. Without it, your message gets lost in the noise. Once you have the core message and supporting points, organize them into a beginning, middle, and end. Your beginning grabs attention. It sets the tone. It states the problem, the issue, or the opportunity. The middle develops the idea, offering examples, evidence, or solutions. And the end wraps it up, reaffirming the main point, leaving the audience with a clear call to action or thought to reflect on. People remember structure. They may forget the details of what you said, but they'll remember the flow, the organized sequence of ideas. The more structured your thoughts are, the easier they are to communicate, the easier they are to follow, and the easier they are to remember. But clarity in structure doesn't just happen. It's built with intention. Ask yourself, what do I want my audience to take away? What do I want them to feel? What action do I want them to take? These questions guide your structure. They help you focus on what matters and remove what doesn't. A well-structured message doesn't waste anyone's time. It delivers value with every sentence. Once your thoughts are structured, You can focus on delivery. How you present your ideas is as important as what you present. Without structure, your delivery will fall flat. With structure, your delivery will soar. Remember, structure is not about being rigid. It's about being intentional. It's about finding a path that flows smoothly, that guides the listener from point A to point B. When your thoughts are organized, your confidence grows. You stop scrambling for words. You stop trying to remember points. You speak from a place of clarity, from a place of certainty. And certainty builds trust. It tells your audience, I know what I'm talking about, and I can guide you there. Structure helps you stay on track. It helps you stay focused. It prevents you from getting sidetracked by irrelevant ideas. It keeps the conversation on course, even when it gets difficult, even when things get emotional, even when you're under pressure. When you structure your thoughts, you gain control over the conversation. You can navigate challenges, maintain focus, and ensure your message is delivered effectively. This is the power of structure. It allows your ideas to take shape. It allows your words to flow with purpose. It gives your communication direction. And when your communication has direction, it has power. So, before you speak, take a moment to structure your thoughts. Ask yourself what your message is. What's the goal? What points support that goal? What conclusion will leave your audience with something to act on? In the end, the most powerful communicators aren't the ones with the most information. They're the ones who can organize and deliver that information with impact. That's the art of structuring your thoughts. That's how you speak smartly. Chapter 3: The Power of Persuasive Communication. Persuasion is the art of influence. It's the ability to move people to action with words, to make them believe, to make them act, to make them follow. In communication, persuasion isn't manipulation. It's understanding and connecting. It's not about twisting someone's arm. It's about creating a shift in thinking. The power of persuasive communication lies in understanding human nature. People make decisions based on emotions, not logic. And persuasion taps into that. To persuade effectively, you must first connect emotionally. You need to know what drives the person you're speaking to. What do they care about? What do they fear? What do they desire? Once you understand this, you can speak directly to their needs. When you speak to their emotions, they're listening. When you speak to their reason, they're thinking. But when you connect both, you have their attention and their trust. Persuasion begins with the right words. But it doesn't end there. It's about the energy behind those words. The tone, the pauses, the body language. People feel your sincerity. They trust your confidence. They connect with your passion. Effective persuasion requires empathy. When you understand the emotions behind a person's decisions, you can craft your message in a way that speaks directly to them. But it's not just about making someone feel good. It's about making them believe in the value of what you're saying. It's about showing them how what you're offering aligns with their needs. True persuasion is not about forcing an outcome. It's about showing the other person that what you're suggesting is the best choice for them. Once you've made that connection, the next step is clarity. Persuasion thrives on simplicity. When your message is clear, it's easy to follow. When it's easy to follow, it's easy to act upon. Use simple language. Be direct. Cut through the clutter. People trust clarity. They follow clarity. They remember clarity. But persuasion is also about timing. Know when to speak and when to listen. Know when to press forward and when to pause. The right moment can change everything. The right message at the wrong time can fail, but the right message at the right time creates movement. Persuasive communication isn't about winning an argument. It's about finding common ground. It's about showing how your idea helps them achieve what they already want. And once you find that common ground, you don't push, you guide. You gently bring them along. People follow when they feel respected, not pressured. Persuasion isn't force, It's influence. It's guiding someone's thoughts in a way that aligns with their own desires. But even the most persuasive communicator can't influence without integrity. If you're not genuine, if you're not honest, your persuasion will fall flat. People can sense when you're not being authentic. They won't follow words. They'll follow actions. So make sure your actions align with what you say. Your words have power, but your integrity gives them strength. Lastly, the power of persuasion lies in your ability to listen. You can't persuade someone if you don't understand them. You can't offer a solution if you haven't identified the problem. The best persuaders are great listeners. They ask questions, they listen actively, and they adapt their message based on what they hear. Listening makes your words relevant. It makes your message tailored, not generic. And it makes the person you're speaking to feel heard, which, in turn, makes them more likely to follow your lead. Persuasion isn't about changing someone's mind. It's about helping them see things in a new way. It's about making them believe in a future where they've made the decision you're offering. So, communicate with clarity, confidence, and empathy. Use your words to guide, not control. Use your understanding to connect, not manipulate. Because the power of persuasive communication doesn't lie in persuasion alone. It lies in the trust you build, the value you offer. Influence is the ability to make people think, feel, and act in ways they hadn't before. Chapter 4. Speaking with Influence. It's not about control. They make an impact. When you speak with influence, your words don't just pass through the air. It's about connection. They linger. They shape thoughts, decisions, and actions. But influence isn't about manipulation. It's about integrity. It's about showing people a path they hadn't seen, and guiding them there with respect and empathy. People listen to those who speak with confidence. The first key to influence is authority. But confidence doesn't come from volume. They don't question your intent. It comes from clarity and calm. When you speak with authority, people trust that your words are backed by truth. They follow because they know you believe in what you're saying. Confidence comes from knowledge. When you speak with substance, your words resonate. You don't need to prove yourself. Authority also comes from consistency. Your content does that for you. You build trust. When you stand by your values, when you communicate with integrity, and trust is the foundation of influence. But influence is more than just authority. It's also about emotional connection. What excites them? What do they care about? To speak with influence, you must understand the emotions of your audience. When you speak to their emotions, you create resonance. You make your message meaningful. What worries them? Not just logical. You tap into their needs and desires, making your message relevant. Speaking with influence requires empathy. You can craft your message in a way that feels personal and impactful. When you understand others' perspectives, it's not just about what you say, it's about how they hear it. The most influential speakers connect emotionally. And when you do that, people don't just listen. They speak to the heart, not just the mind. They follow. Next, influence requires clarity. Without clarity, even the best message gets lost. When you speak clearly, people understand you, and that understanding builds trust. They know exactly what you mean. People trust those who make things simple and invite people into your vision. You remove barriers to comprehension. When you simplify your message, you make it accessible. But clarity alone isn't enough. You must also be persuasive, and that means knowing when to challenge and when to support. It's about challenging their assumptions. Sometimes, influence means pushing people out of their comfort zones and inspiring action, making them see a different way. But persuasion doesn't mean force. It means opening the door and letting them choose to walk through it. When you lead with understanding, people feel empowered, not pressured. When you listen deeply, you understand more than words. To speak with influence, you must also listen. Listening is the secret weapon of great communicators. You hear the emotion behind the words, the needs underneath the surface. You see opportunities to connect, to persuade. Listening makes your message relevant. To lead, it allows you to respond, not react. The more you understand, and that's when influence begins, the more persuasive your message becomes. You align your communication with their needs, and that makes your influence unstoppable. But influence isn't just about your words. It's about your energy. People follow energy more than they follow words. When your energy is aligned with your message, if your words say, "I'm confident," people feel it. But your body says, "I'm unsure." If your words say, "I believe in this," your influence diminishes. But your tone says, "I'm uncertain." When your body language, tone, and words are in harmony, your influence becomes magnetic. Your influence weakens. Their message is consistent. They speak with intention. The most influential communicators have a presence, and their energy matches their purpose. When you speak with influence. Finally, influence is about inspiring action. You make people believe in what's possible. You don't just tell them what to do. You show them why they should want to do it. You paint a picture of what's at stake. People follow leaders who inspire them, and what's possible if they take action. Leaders who speak with influence don't just demand, they empower, and that's the ultimate form of communication. Not words that are heard, but words that are felt. Words that move people to act, and your emotions. So, to speak with influence, you must align your mind, your message. You must lead with purpose, speak with clarity, and connect with empathy. When you do, your words won't just be heard. They'll move hearts. They'll inspire action. They'll make an impact. And that's the true power of persuasive, influential communication. Chapter 5: Mastering the Art of Listening. Listening is not passive. It's active, intentional, and powerful. Most people hear, but they don't listen. Hearing is automatic. Listening requires focus. It requires empathy. It requires presence. When you listen with intention, you hear more than words. You hear emotions. You hear needs. You hear unspoken truths. True listening requires putting aside your own thoughts, your own judgments, your own agenda. It means giving the other person space to be heard. And when people feel heard, they feel valued. They feel seen. They feel understood. In the workplace, listening builds trust. When you listen, you signal respect. You signal that you value someone's perspective. You signal that their voice matters. But listening is not just about hearing someone out. It's about understanding what they're really saying. It's about connecting with the emotion behind the words. It's about reading between the lines. Often people don't say everything they mean. They hint. They imply. They leave things unsaid. A good listener catches those clues. They don't just wait to speak. They actively engage with the speaker, picking up on what's left unsaid. To truly listen, you must be fully present. Put down distractions. Turn off the noise. Clear your mind. When you listen with your whole being, you create a space where others feel safe to open up. They'll share their ideas, their concerns, their truths. And when you truly hear them, you can respond meaningfully. You can guide. You can offer solutions. You can build rapport. Effective listening also means listening to what's not being said. Body language speaks louder than words. The way someone holds themselves, the tension in their posture, the hesitation in their voice. These are clues that help you understand the bigger picture. Listening isn't just about understanding the content. It's about reading the energy of the conversation. It's about sensing the emotions underneath the surface. Sometimes people just need someone to listen. They don't need advice. They don't need answers. They just need to be heard. When you give them that, you build trust. You strengthen relationships. You create a deeper connection. But listening is also about asking the right questions. When you listen deeply, you create space for others to share more. You ask questions that guide them toward clarity. You don't interrupt with your own opinions. You don't rush to solve their problems. You guide the conversation with questions that encourage reflection. The power of listening lies in your ability to be present. It's not just about gathering information. It's about creating understanding. It's about showing empathy, showing that you care. When people feel understood, they are more open. They are more willing to collaborate. They are more willing to follow your lead. Listening creates a culture of trust and respect. It shifts conversations from surface-level exchanges to meaningful dialogues. As a leader, your ability to listen defines your influence. The best leaders don't talk the most, they listen the most. They understand their team's concerns. They understand their team's strengths and weaknesses. They understand their team's motivations. Listening is not just about hearing complaints. It's about understanding desires, needs, and aspirations. When you listen, you get the whole story. And when you get the whole story, you can make better decisions. Listening also means giving feedback thoughtfully. When you listen deeply, you know how to respond in a way that resonates. You know when to give advice and when to step back. You know when to challenge and when to support. You give people space to express their ideas, while still guiding them toward solutions. The most impactful communicators listen first, speak second, and ask questions that move people forward. Listening builds connections that go beyond words. It creates emotional bonds that encourage collaboration, innovation, and growth. When you become a master listener, you transform your relationships, your work, and your life. Because the best communicators don't just speak well, they listen with intention. They understand with empathy, and they respond with clarity. Chapter 6. The Art of Speaking with Influence. It's not about how loudly you speak. Influence begins with your voice. When you speak with influence, your words don't just fill the space. They move the room. It's about the power you carry in every word. They change minds. They spark action. The art of influence lies in your ability to speak with intention. You don't just share ideas. People are drawn to those who speak with clarity and passion. You share purpose. When you speak with conviction, people listen. Influence is about creating alignment. When you speak with empathy, people connect, so they believe in what you're saying. It's about speaking to people's hearts and minds, and are moved by it. What do you want to accomplish with your words? To speak with influence, you first need to understand the power of your message. What do you want others to feel? Without this clarity, your words are just noise. What do you want them to do? But when you speak with purpose, every word counts. They know what resonates with them. They understand their fears, desires, and challenges. The best influencers understand their audience, and they tailor their message to speak directly to those emotions. Influence is about finding common ground, building a bridge from where they are. But influence isn't about persuasion alone, to where you want them to go. It's about inspiring trust. When they respect you, they act. When people trust you, they listen. When they believe you, they follow. Trust is the foundation of influence. People believe in leaders who speak with integrity, and trust is built on consistency. When your words align with your actions, your influence grows. When your message is authentic, people feel it. The language of influence isn't just in words. They respond to it. It's in the energy behind those words. Your tone, your timing, your body language. A well-timed pause creates anticipation. A calm, steady tone carries authority, and a posture that is open and confident builds credibility. It's about presence. Influence is about more than just speaking and bringing your full self into every interaction. It's about showing up. People are drawn to those who speak with confidence. But true confidence doesn't come from force. Alignment between your beliefs, your message, and your energy. It comes from alignment, but by meeting them where they are and showing them a better path. When you speak with influence, you move people, not by dominating them. Influence is also about listening. And once you understand, you can speak in a way that speaks directly to their heart. When you listen to others, you understand their needs, their hopes, and their struggles. The power of influence is in its ability to shape perceptions. It's in making people believe in themselves, in the vision you present. To speak with influence, you must also be open to feedback. A good influencer doesn't just give, and in the possibility of the future, they receive as well. They understand their concerns, they listen to what others say, and they adapt. It's about having the ability to guide others to the solutions they need. Influence isn't about having all the answers. When you communicate with influence, you speak to inspire change. You speak to motivate action. You speak to create a lasting impact. And you do it all with integrity, clarity, and purpose. They talk to create transformation. The greatest communicators don't just talk to be heard. They speak in ways that make others believe in their vision. And they speak with humility that inspires action. They speak with confidence that instills trust. To speak with influence is to speak with power. Not power over others, but power through others. The power to inspire, to move, and to lead. To speak in a way that empowers others to act. And that's the true art of communication. To grow, and to believe in the possibility of change. Chapter 7. The Power of Nonverbal Communication. Words are only a small part of communication. The rest, the majority, is unspoken. Nonverbal communication is your body's language. Your facial expressions, your gestures, your tone of voice, and the space between your words. These silent cues speak louder than anything you say. They reveal more about your thoughts, your emotions, your intentions, than words ever could. At work, your nonverbal signals create the first impression. Before you speak, people are already reading you. They're noticing how you stand, what your eyes are doing, how your posture is aligned. This invisible language sets the tone for every conversation. It can create trust or tension, connection or distance. The most influential communicators understand this. They know that their presence speaks before their words ever do. When you enter a room, your energy is felt. If you're tense, the room tightens. If you're calm, the room breathes. The way you walk into a meeting has a huge impact. Do you look confident? Do you look engaged? Do you look like you're ready to connect? People read these subtle cues instantly. They sense your attitude, your mood, your openness. Nonverbal communication creates trust. When your body language aligns with your words, people feel secure. When they don't match, doubt arises. The most powerful leaders are those who communicate through presence. They don't have to speak loudly to be heard. Their presence carries authority, clarity, calmness. The power of your presence lies in how you align your words with your body. When you communicate with openness, your gestures match your message. When you speak with confidence, your posture reflects that belief. If you stand tall, people notice. If you keep eye contact, people trust. If you gesture to emphasize your points, people listen. This is the power of nonverbal communication, your silent message that speaks volumes. But nonverbal communication isn't just about how you speak with others. It's also about how you communicate with yourself. The way you hold yourself, the way you position your body, the way you speak to yourself through movement. This shapes your inner dialogue. When you sit straight, when you walk with purpose, when you make eye contact with yourself in the mirror, you signal confidence. You reinforce your own belief in your message. The body and mind are connected. When you change your posture, you change your emotions. When you change your emotions, you change your presence. When you stand confidently, your mind follows. When you smile, your energy shifts. When you listen with your body, your heart opens. In any conversation, be aware of the energy you bring. Are you engaged or distracted? Are you focused or uncertain? Are you defensive or open? People can feel this. When they feel your presence is genuine, they trust you. When they sense you're distracted, they disengage. A simple nod, a gentle smile, or leaning in slightly says, "I hear you. I understand you." These gestures are powerful. They communicate more than words can. When you give someone your full attention, when your eyes soften with empathy, you create a space where communication can truly happen. Nonverbal communication also governs your ability to influence others. In negotiations, meetings, or debates, what you do with your body says a lot. You're not just speaking your words, you're showing your intent through gestures, your posture, your tone, your facial expression. All these non-verbal signals communicate more than your words alone. For instance, when you're making a point, leaning forward and making direct eye contact can emphasize your message. It shows you believe in what you're saying. It draws others into your point of view. But when you cross your arms, look away, or fidget, you send signals of discomfort, defensiveness, or disinterest. These signals weaken your message and lower your influence. It's not just about saying the right things, it's about sending the right message, silently. Non-verbal cues can make or break relationships in the workplace. They can close doors or open them. They can make a team feel like a family or make them feel isolated. So, start paying attention. Watch your body language. Notice your posture. Notice the energy you're projecting without even speaking. By aligning your nonverbal communication with your intentions, you don't just speak, you connect. And when you connect on a deeper level, your words are more powerful, more impactful, and more effective. Nonverbal communication is your silent ally. It carries your message before your words ever reach the ears of your audience. Master it, and you master communication. Chapter 8. Using silence to strengthen communication. Silence is not empty. It's full of meaning. In a world full of noise, silence stands out. It's the pause between words that speaks the loudest. It's the space where understanding grows. Silence can be more powerful than any words you speak. It gives weight to your message. It creates anticipation. It creates room for thought. In conversations, silence invites reflection. It lets your words sink in, allowing the listener to absorb the message. Without silence, words can feel rushed, scattered, and easily forgotten. Think about the impact of a pause. After a key point, let silence sit for a moment. Give the listener time to think. Give them time to absorb the truth in your words. In negotiations, silence holds power. When you stop talking, you let the other person speak. And in their silence, they reveal their true thoughts, their true concerns. Silence can be a form of strength. When you speak less, your words have more impact. You don't have to fill every space with sound. Sometimes, saying nothing is the strongest move you can make. Silence also creates emotional space in conversations. When emotions run high, a pause can lower the tension. It allows both parties to regroup, refocus, and reset. This is when true communication happens. The silence between statements creates an opportunity for empathy. You can listen without interrupting, giving the other person space to express themselves fully. By simply allowing them to speak, you make them feel heard and respected. Great leaders know when to speak and when to stay silent. They understand that silence is not weakness. It's a powerful tool that allows others to be heard. It allows space for reflection, for empathy, for action. You don't need to dominate every conversation. Sometimes you need to step back and let others share. By doing so, you strengthen the connection between you. You invite trust. You invite understanding. Silence also gives you control over your own emotions. When you feel the urge to react, pause. Give yourself a moment to reflect. When you stay silent, you control your response. By pausing before reacting, you prevent emotional outbursts, and you create space to respond with clarity instead of frustration. This gives you more power in any conversation. In meetings, silence helps foster creativity. When you leave room for others to think, you create a space for new ideas to emerge. When everyone is talking at once, nothing new is created. But when there's quiet, people start to reflect. They start to contribute. The right kind of silence encourages collaboration. It signals that you're listening, that you respect what others are saying. It creates a safe environment where people can share openly, without fear of being interrupted or judged. Silence, when used wisely, can transform the flow of communication. It brings attention to your words. It increases understanding. It strengthens relationships. And in moments of conflict, silence can be the key to resolution. It's the moment when both sides stop, listen, and consider the other's point of view. That pause creates a breakthrough. It creates peace. When you learn to use silence effectively, you become a more powerful communicator. You speak less, but your words hold more meaning. You listen more, and your understanding deepens. Silence doesn't just enhance communication, it changes it. It turns every word you speak into something worth hearing. So embrace silence. Use it to guide your thoughts, your emotions, and your conversations. Let it create space for others to speak. Let it strengthen your relationships. Because sometimes, what's not said speaks louder than anything you could ever say. Emotional resilience isn't just about staying calm in a storm. Chapter 9. Building emotional resilience through communication. It's about using your words to weather the storm. Pressure, stress, conflict, and disappointment are inevitable. But how you communicate during these times determines how well you handle them. In life and work, you will face challenges. They can either help you stay grounded or send you into chaos. When emotions rise, words matter most. Resilience is the ability to bounce back, to regain your balance after a setback. And communication is your most powerful tool in building that resilience. The first step is emotional awareness. When you can identify your feelings, you gain control over them. When you speak from a place of awareness, you can choose your words with intention, not reaction. But reactive communication often escalates the situation. In moments of stress, it's easy to react without thinking. When you speak impulsively, you risk saying things you don't mean, hurting relationships, and damaging your own peace of mind. Resilience starts with a pause. Take a moment before you speak. Breathe. Notice how you're feeling and what you're about to say. A pause doesn't make you weak. It gives you time to reflect and respond with clarity. It makes you strong. When you speak with awareness, your message becomes stronger. You express your concerns, but without blame. You communicate your feelings, but with respect. You address issues without creating conflict. Effective communication in difficult situations requires empathy. When you understand the emotions of others, you can connect more deeply. When someone is angry or frustrated, your words can either feed the fire or calm it. Ask yourself, what do they need to hear right now? Empathy is the key to de-escalating tension and finding common ground. Sometimes it's not an answer. Sometimes it's just a listening ear. Sometimes it's reassurance. When you communicate with empathy, you give others space to express their emotions. They're more open to collaboration. And when they feel heard, their emotional charge begins to soften. But resilience is also about expressing your emotions constructively. They're more open to solutions. It's about finding words that reflect your feelings without letting them control you. When you speak honestly about your emotions, but do so in a way that's respectful, you communicate strength. They expect you to be real. People don't expect you to be perfect. To communicate from the heart, but with control. That's how you build trust. In difficult situations, your silence can be a form of strength. Building emotional resilience through communication is also about knowing when to speak up and when to stay silent. Sometimes, letting the other person have their say without interrupting is enough. You don't always need to respond immediately. Silence creates space for understanding. It gives both parties time to process their emotions. You're both calmer, more centered, and better equipped to find a solution. And when you return to the conversation, but doing so with wisdom and care, resilience doesn't mean avoiding tough conversations. It means having the courage to address them, It's a chance to connect, to learn, and to grow. Resilient communicators are adaptable. It means knowing that a difficult conversation doesn't have to be a battle. They know when to offer solutions. They know how to adjust their message to the situation, and when to just listen, and when to lead with empathy. They know when to lead with logic, but most importantly, resilient communicators stay true to themselves. They don't let negative emotions dictate their actions. They don't let external stress control their internal state. They communicate from a place of calm and clarity, no matter how chaotic the world around them may seem. When you build emotional resilience through communication, you not only protect your own peace of mind, but you also help create a supportive environment for others. You teach those around you how to communicate with respect, understanding, and strength. Resilience is contagious. You become the anchor in the storm. When you model calm communication in difficult situations, others follow your lead. Ultimately, emotional resilience through communication is about maintaining control over your reactions, and together you build a culture of emotional resilience. It's about speaking with intention, not impulse. It's about expressing your emotions constructively, while still honoring your own needs. It's about creating space for others. You turn challenges into opportunities, and listening with empathy. When you master this, you transform the way you communicate. You turn conflict into connection, and you turn stress into strength. Chapter 10. Building strong relationships through communication. Relationships are built on communication. The way you speak shapes the way people see you, and the way they feel about you. Great relationships don't just happen. They're nurtured through thoughtful, intentional communication. When you communicate well, you build trust, and trust is the foundation of any strong relationship. Communication isn't just about words. It's about creating an emotional connection. It's about understanding, not just speaking. It's about listening, not just hearing. When you truly listen, you understand people's needs, desires, and fears. You create a space where they feel safe to share. And when people feel safe, they open up. They trust you. Listening is where strong relationships begin. But speaking with empathy takes them further. When you speak with kindness and understanding, you show that you value the person in front of you. Empathy in communication means seeing things from the other person's perspective. It means speaking to their emotions as well as their intellect. It means responding in a way that acknowledges their feelings. When you understand where someone is coming from, you communicate in a way that resonates. You choose your words carefully, and you choose your tone with intention. Strong relationships are built on honesty, but honesty doesn't mean being harsh. It means being real without being cruel. It means speaking the truth with care. Vulnerability also plays a key role in building trust. When you communicate with vulnerability, you show that you trust the other person. And when you trust, you invite the same trust in return. But vulnerability doesn't mean oversharing. It means sharing what's real for you in a way that encourages openness. It means showing your human side, without fear of judgment. The most powerful communicators don't just share facts. They share stories. They share feelings. They share their journey. And in doing so, they invite others to do the same. Stories create connection. They make us see the world through someone else's eyes. They create empathy, understanding, and a sense of shared experience. When you speak with authenticity, people connect with you on a deeper level. They see your sincerity, your passion, and your commitment. And that's how trust is built. One honest conversation at a time. To build strong relationships, you must also learn to give constructive feedback. Feedback is a gift, but only when given thoughtfully. It should be clear, direct, and focused on improvement, not criticism. Good feedback doesn't just point out problems, it offers solutions. It doesn't just highlight mistakes, it highlights growth opportunities. It doesn't judge the person, it focuses on the action. When you communicate with respect and care, Even difficult feedback becomes an opportunity to strengthen the relationship. You show that you care enough to help the other person grow. And that kind of care deepens trust and respect. Strong relationships are also maintained by consistency. People trust those who are reliable. When your communication is consistent, people know what to expect from you. They feel secure in the relationship. This doesn't mean you have to agree all the time. It means being consistent in your values, your tone, and your approach. People will respect your authenticity, even if they don't always agree with you. Communication also means knowing when to step back and listen more. Great communicators know how to adjust their approach based on the situation. Sometimes, the best way to build a relationship is to give the other person space to speak. When you listen more than you speak, you create a sense of validation. People feel understood, and in turn, they feel closer to you. Relationships thrive when people feel heard, respected, and valued. And when you communicate in a way that fosters those feelings, you create connections that are deep, lasting, and genuine. At the heart of communication is connection. When you connect with others on a real level, you build relationships that aren't just based on words. They're based on mutual respect, understanding, and trust. So, communicate with intention, speak with empathy, listen with understanding, and build relationships that stand the test of time.